Hey guys, in this video I'm going to share 5 tips with you that's going to help you transition from just playing downstrokes in your metal rhythms to also playing alternate picking and getting really good at it. All right, we're going to dive right into these 5 tips, and I really believe this is going to help you, especially if you struggle from going from downstrokes to alternate picking when you're playing your metal rhythms and riffs. Now, real quick, make sure you hang around till the end of the video because, of course, I've got some more helpful tips for you, and I'm going to share just a short story on how I started out with downstrokes and the struggles I had with alternate picking. Alright, so the first tip, and this is a very important tip, which is why I'm calling this out for number 1 here, and this is the way you hold your pick for your downstrokes versus how you hold your pick for alternate picking. Now, just a quick disclaimer. I'm going to show you this up close here, but a quick disclaimer, not everything works for everyone, so I just want you to remember that. And if what I'm about to show you doesn't quite work for you, it's okay. What I would encourage you to do is just keep messing around and playing around with, different picking methods until you get it, okay? You will eventually get it, but that being said, let me show you how I do it, how I hold my pick for both downstrokes and alternate picking. So let's play a downstroke. We'll start out with that. So downstrokes, you notice when I'm playing the downstrokes, I'm actually picking kind of away from the bridge, kind of at an angled motion almost, going that way, okay? So I've got my little palm mute, and you're not always palm muting. This is just downstrokes in general, just picking down. We just palm mute a lot because, of course, it's metal, and metal has a lot of palm muting. But as I'm playing, though, whatever type of downstroke I'm using, whether I'm playing leads, guitar solos, or whatever, I've got kind of an angle. My pick's going sort of at an angle, right? And you're not like going that way with your hand. It's just the way your wrist is kind of flicking that pick. You're just going at that angle, just a slight angle, kind of away from the bridge there, if that makes sense. Now, let's take a look at the alternate picking method, okay? And you'll notice that I'm kind of picking almost the opposite way, and I'll explain that once I play this little riff. So here for the alternate picking method, I'm actually angling my pick back towards the bridge a little bit, just slightly. So it's almost the opposite of how I downstroke. Real quick, I'm holding my pick, and I should have mentioned this earlier. I'm holding my pick with my first 2 fingers and my thumb there, okay? And that's exactly how I hold it when I'm playing my downstrokes, okay? So for alternate picking, what I have to do is I bend my thumb just a little bit back like that, and that allows me sort of to angle it back down towards the bridge. And I didn't realize this, I didn't realize that I did this until I sat down and just kind of like went through how I do this, because I've never really thought about it before, but this is the method that comes the easiest for me, and I thought I'd share it with you because I think it will help you as well. So yeah, remember, downstrokes, I'm kind of picking away from the bridge, just slightly at an angle. For alternate picking, I've got my thumb bent just a little bit, so that allows me to kind of pick at the opposite angle, going back towards the bridge there. And again, that just allows for a little bit smoother alternate picking riff. When you're playing those really fast alternate picked riffs, those notes will have a little bit more clarity that way, in my opinion. Again, this is just how I do it. If that doesn't work for you, don't get upset. Just keep practicing until you figure out something that does. It will come natural to you the more you practice, but I hope this part helps some of you anyway. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, I had to come back and record this part, so you probably want to know what size pick that I'm using. This is a .73, and I believe this is a Snarling Dog Brain pick, and this is a .60. This is the Dunlap Max Grip, so these are actually my 2 favorite picks here. So .60 or .73. Now, that doesn't mean that you should use these picks. These are just what I use, what I feel most comfortable using. I know a lot of folks that play metal like the thicker picks. That just never did it for me. So I play a lot smoother and better with these slightly thinner picks here. So I just wanted to point that out. Method number 2. So now that you've got the alternate picking down, we're going to kind of work more on that alternate picking here, because most people start out with the downstrokes and you've got that part down, but don't worry, we're going back to that in the next little tip here. I got something really interesting coming up for you to play. So before we get there though, I want you to practice this first. We're going to focus on the alternate picking, and what I want you to do is just pick a very simple riff. I'm about to give you a riff to play here, and I just want you to practice this over and over repetitively until it gets just very boring to play. And it will become very boring very soon, but that's okay. This is how we get better, because I'm going to show you what to do with that once you get bored with this little riff. Okay, so here's what I want you to play. Just a very, very simple riff here. Alright, so all we're doing is we're just alternate picking on that first string. Then we're playing frets 2, 3, and 5. Now I'm not quite sure how many times I'm alternate picking those notes, and honestly it really doesn't matter. Just alternate pick for a little while until you feel like going to that next note. You can copy what I just did, or you can extend it, or you can shorten it, whatever makes you feel more comfortable and whatever comes natural to you. But it's a very simple riff there. We're just going up, just playing, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Okay, but what this does, and again, I want you to practice until you're bored with it. Okay, what this does is the repetitive, all right, the repetitive nature that's going to make you better at this technique. You're going to get really good really fast just by doing something like this. So I'm kind of excited for you if this is one of those areas that you struggle with, because I know this is going to help you. So now what I want you to do, and real quick, it doesn't matter how fast you practice it. Start out at a pace that you're comfortable with and build the speed up. One thing I'll tell you is it's best to set a metronome or like a little drum track to a specific BPM, just find something you're comfortable with, and then practice that, and as you get better at it, increase the BPM. Okay, you can do that as well. So I want you to take the riff that we just played. All right, now I want us to do some different things with that, and this is going to help you even further. So now do this. So all we did here was we just changed the notes up a little bit, okay? Instead of going just, from lowest to the highest, we just kind of went back and forth. We juggled the high and low notes there a little bit. What this does is there's a method to the madness here. What this does is it triggers something in your brain saying, hey, we're doing something different here with the fretting fingers, right, with the fretting hand, but we're still maintaining the alternate picking with the right hand. So this is helping build the coordination between the two. You played the one riff, alternate pick, right, when you practice that over and over, but then when you get bored with that one, I want you to switch to this. I want you to change the notes up, okay? Now, what I want you to do after that, after you get really good at both exercises that we just went through, then I want you to start adding notes. I want you to start playing these types of riffs at more places throughout the fretboard while you're maintaining that alternate picking. And remember, put a metronome on, or put like a drum track on, or something like that. Anything to help you keep your timing. Set it at a comfortable speed, whether it's 120 BPM or 150, 160. Set it at a comfortable speed, and then just gradually increase it. Don't worry about the speed. I want to reiterate this part because this is important. Don't worry about getting super fast. That will come in time. What you want to do right now is focus on accuracy and just get the technique down, and you will. Practicing these riffs and then coming up with some of your own riffs based on what I just showed you and maintaining that alternate pick rhythm, it's going to make you better really, really fast. And you'll get fast too. It'll come. Tip number 3, and this is where it gets really fun. Now what I want you to do is what a lot of metal music that you listen to does, what a lot of metal songs have. Most songs don't have alternate picking without downstrokes. There are some songs that are just all downstrokes. There are a lot of songs, metal songs, that are all downstrokes, but rarely will you find a metal song that's just all alternate picking without any downstrokes. So What we're going to do is we're going to combine the two, and I'm going to give you a very, very simple riff to play. And again, I'll show you how to expand on that, but this is what I want you to practice here, okay? All right, let me go through that again, but I'm going to go through it a little bit slower, and of course I'll have the tabs up there for you as well. So you see what we did there, we combined both methods. We combined the downstrokes with the alternate picking. You know, we started out with the typical just thrashy metal style of the palm muting, the power chords, and all downstrokes until we got to that little riff at the end. And that's when we incorporate the alternate picking. And I kind of kept it in the same area as the last riffs we learned in the prior tip that I just gave you. And that's just to keep you in your comfort zone for right now. But I don't want you to stay there. Don't stay in the comfort zone here. I want you to take what we learned just now and I want you to expand on it. So maybe try playing it in A instead of E, okay? Maybe go a string over. Okay, do something like that. Now that's not a huge change, but again, you're getting used to the style here. You're getting used to going from just downstrokes to incorporating the alternate picking. But I just challenge you to try that, you know, any notes. Doesn't matter what notes you're playing, just play a couple power chords and then go into an alternate picking little riff there. It can be 3 or 4 notes like we played. It doesn't really matter. I just want you to expand on that by playing those types of riffs, right? Incorporating both the downstrokes with the alternate picking throughout other places throughout the fretboard here so that you can get better. Tip number 4, we're going to again combine these two methods together, but we're going to combine them a little bit differently this time. This time I want you to start out with the alternate picking first, okay? Then I want you to go into the downstroke. So we're going to just kind of reverse the patterns here, and I'll give you a little riff to play. Again, we start out with alternate picking, then we merge over to the downstrokes, okay? And always remember how I taught you to hold the pick. Remember, you kind of got to switch back and forth between the two. Remember how I just poked my thumb out a little bit for the alternate picking so that I can pick at that angle, you know, kind of going back towards the bridge, and my thumb's just in a regular spot like that when I'm doing downstrokes. So it's kind of at a slight angle going away from the bridge there. But going back to this little riff here, we're starting out on an A, and I actually play the full power chord there, the A power chord, but then when I start alternate picking, I'm only picking the A string. Now, you can play around with picking both strings if you want. You know, some cases you might want to do that, and others you might just want the single string. There's no right or wrong way to do that. It's whatever the song calls for, okay? But we're starting out with that this time with the chord, so to speak, in that A, and then we go to the downstroke. So this is just kind of a little switcheroo from tip number 3, and just another thing to practice. You know, in one practice session, right, you start with downstrokes, then merge into the alternate picking, and then after that little session, you flip-flop them. You start with the alternate picking, right? Especially alternate picking a chord like this, or with like a power chord, then you merge into the downstroke. So again, this is just another tactic to help you get better and just get more comfortable playing both styles together. The fifth and final tip I want to give you that pertains to helping you get better at alternate picking is doing a technique that I call galloping. Okay, this is kind of like bulls coming after you, like demon bulls. They're galloping after you, and it sounds kind of like this. I just started jamming and it felt good, so I kept playing. But anyway, so the galloping technique here, I don't want you to get carried away with this, but it's basically just a really quick, snappy 1, 2, 3 alternate pick. But again, it's very quick and very snappy, so it's almost like you're just kind of snapping your wrist back and forth there. First, when you start practicing the galloping technique here, I want you just to practice on the one string, on the E string, or really any string, doesn't matter, but just take that one string, or one note rather, and just practice that snappy little 1, 2, 3. You'll probably want to mute your strings up here after you play it, otherwise you'll get some overlay noise there. Which that kind of sounds cool anyway, so either way. But just for the sake of practicing and getting better at the galloping, just kind of mute it. Once you get good at that, what I want you to do is start to integrate the galloping with some downstrokes. Remember in the past two tips, the last two tips we just went over, we combined the two techniques, and I really want you to get used to doing that, not just alternate picking. Right, I want you to combine downstrokes with alternate picking, and of course vice versa. So here's a little, just a one note riff here that I like to play sometimes. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing the gallop, right? 1, 2, 3. Then I'm doing downstrokes for 1, 2. So just think in terms of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. All right. That's a technique. If you get down the galloping, it's just going to help you tremendously with alternate picking in general. In fact, once you get the galloping technique down, alternate picking is going to feel a whole lot easier in general. So I really want you to practice this method and just grasp it and get it down. All right, so a few quick tips. If you do not have my free Metal Riffs and Licks practice guide, get it. There's a link in the description of this video. It is free. I'll send that to you. And there's also a video that I have that goes with that guide, and that's in the guide itself. So there's a link to that. But yeah, go to the YouTube description, download that if you don't have it already. If you have that guide, if you already have that, I know a lot of you do, and you have not jumped into my metal rhythm guitar course. It is like the most epic epitome of everything we just went through times like, well, 70, because there's over 70 riffs in that course, but it's called Metal Riff Master. So there's also a link, but again, if you haven't signed up for the free guide, grab that first. I want you to get that first and then take a look at Metal Riff Master. All right, guys, so I want to tell you just a very short backstory here and why this lesson is so important. See, when I first started playing guitar, this is way back in 1989-ish, and I think I got my electric guitars around 1990, like January 1990 when I got my first electric guitar. I was playing on an old acoustic guitar before that, just learning. I get my electric, and of course I immediately wanted to start playing Metallica songs, you know, and all that stuff, but I was still learning the basics. So I became really good at playing downstrokes, at palm muting, and even playing guitar solos, but I was just picking downward, just playing downstrokes. And I did that for about a year. Now, I've always kind of been a late bloomer, kind of like I gotta read the book or watch the movie a couple times to really get it. So I didn't know how guitarists got that sound and played faster. I didn't know that was alternate picking. So I went an entire year in my first year playing guitar, just playing downstrokes. So when I switched over to try to play alternate picking, that alternate picking style, oh, I was a complete mess. I mean, it was just like a completely foreign concept. It almost felt like it was a different instrument. So that's why I put this video out there. If you're just starting out playing metal music, I want to encourage you to really get into the alternate picking and dig into that. But in doing so, don't forget the downstrokes, right? Combine those together. And that's why a lot of the tips I gave you in this video combined those two together. So I really want you to grab hold of that and take those riffs that I showed you. Again, if you need to go back through, I'll have timestamps for each tip, okay, in the YouTube description, along with the links that I want you to check out as well. But the timestamps will be there. So go back to those timestamps that had the riffs in there that you needed to learn, which I think was 2 through 5, right? Go back through those, and I want you to take those and add notes to them and play those in different areas throughout the fretboard. This is how you get better. This is how you really become a better metal guitar player, better guitar player, musician in general, is just take the concept that you learn. It could be anything, and just start applying your own flavor to it by adding notes, maybe taking away notes. Maybe playing it with a different cadence, a different BPM, or playing it even better, you know, in different places throughout the fretboard. That way you learn the fretboard really well. And guys, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave a comment on this video, and you can also share your story as well. Maybe your story is similar to mine. You started out with downstrokes, but then you tried to venture into alternate picking, but it was challenging. Maybe you have some tips to share as well, so please share those in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please give this a thumbs up. Don't forget the links in the description, and I'll see you next time. Until then, keep it metal.